Sorry to make you. Okay. Hello, everybody. We are here today to talk about sleep, which is the most important, I guess you could say, lifestyle factor that one can do for health. I mean, there's like really nothing else. Well, I mean, they're all important, right? Physical activity, stress management, nutrition, mindset, sleep. Those are like the five that I always think about. But of course, relationships are also important, but you can't really like hack not getting enough sleep. You know, I mean, if you have insomnia, you're going to do whatever you can, but generally speaking, if you're not getting good sleep, you know, you're not going to be able to meditate your way into compensating for that poor sleep or exercise your way to compensate. It just doesn't, it's just, we can't. We have to sleep as human beings. So I'm going to go into the slides, and sometimes I'll have to come out of the slides to let people in, which I'm doing right now. And we'll get started. Hi, Michelle. So we're going to talk about how to get better sleep now. And, you know, if there are basically two groups. I like to think of people generally being in two groups. Well, some people just get excellent sleep and they're not probably on this call, or, you know, maybe they're here, maybe Pamela, you're here, you want to optimize it. But so maybe that's a group, but the two main groups that worry about sleep are either people who deliberately don't get good sleep. It may not feel deliberate, but it's basically choices that they're making, right? Like, oh, I'm going to stay up late and watch that movie. That's a choice. And then there are people who it seems like they have less of a choice, right? They may suffer from insomnia, may seem like, you know, hormones have disrupted sleep and they're waking up in the middle of the night. You want to go back to sleep, but you can't. So those are kind of two different approaches or two different ways of thinking about it. I'm just going to do this for a sec because I want to pull you all over to the top. Okay. So I'm just going to go, I think everybody on here pretty much knows me, but also just in case, and also for the recording, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Jill Cruz. I am a board certified nutrition specialist. I am also a certified big leap coach. So in my endeavors of, you know, we really have for the past 5 years, really focused on sustainable, healthy weight loss. And I realized that, yeah, we also need to be coaches here. It's not enough just to be a nutritionist. So we incorporate coaching and also obviously nutrition and these 5 lifestyle practices or factors into everything we do. We have our main program, which is, I've been calling it Lose Weight for the Last Time. And I'll just briefly mention that to you all here. Or more my philosophy about it is that, because I'm interested in permanent weight loss, like for myself and for anybody else, whether that means you lose 10 pounds and you never gain them back, or it means you lose 50 pounds and you never gain it back, it doesn't matter. But the point is that I'm all into really figuring out with our clients, like, how do you lose weight for the last time? You do not gain it back. Sorry, I gotta do that to let someone in. So what I've come across is that dieting, you know, crazy doing fasting, you know, using magical pills, that, or just now all of these weight loss medications are very popular, and there are a lot of benefits to them, but just doing that is not enough. That's not going to work for lasting weight loss. What I have come to is that you actually have to optimize your biosystems completely in order to lose weight effectively and keep it off. So that's how our program has been designed. And sleep is sleep is so important for optimizing your biosystem, which is the reason that we talk about it with our clients and the reason that I made this Lunch and Learn, because it's so important. So we're going to get into why it's important for you to get enough sleep. Now, I'm just going to like scratch the surface, but I tried to be a little bit dramatic about it so that you really get the depth of this. So first of all, immune function. Like there's a ton of research on how poor sleep inhibits your immune function. It dysregulates your immune function. So natural killer cells, those are the ones that like fight off things when coming at us right away. They also fight off cancer. But basically, if you didn't sleep well one night, like let's say you got 4 hours of sleep one night, your body has more inflammation than if you slept 8. Like it happens in just one night. So if you're chronically doing it, then you have chronic increased inflammation, which is a problem. And I think we all know, like, if you've ever been through like a really stressful period and you weren't sleeping and all of a sudden you get sick, that's partially because of stress, partially because of poor sleep. Poor sleep can increase your appetite. There are tons and tons of fascinating studies about this, where they take people and they bring them into a facility and they deliberately deprive them of sleep, and then they feed them like a buffet and they keep track of what they're eating. And I know the one that always sticks in my mind was 5 hours of sleep and 600 additional calories was like the average of what people ate from when they were well rested. So we want to eat more, and also our blood sugar goes up. So if you have pre-diabetes, or you're worried about type 2 diabetes, or if you have type 2 diabetes, sleep is a huge factor in your blood sugar, and so is stress, like way more than anybody thinks it is. And my father has type 2 diabetes, and I've been watching while a stressful thing happens, because you're constantly monitoring the blood sugar, boom, his blood sugar goes up even though he didn't eat anything. So it's real. And also, I will just summarize it all right here. Less than 7 hours of sleep a night chronically will increase your risk for diabetes, cancer, depression, obesity. CVD is cardiovascular disease, dementia, and early death. I don't think that it's possible for me to overemphasize how important sleep is for your long-term health. So that being said, I know there are people who have sleep issues. So it's like, I don't want to make anybody get scared or feel bad, because there are things you can do. That's the good thing. There's always things you can do. Not always easy stuff, but stuff. So we're going to talk about how to get better sleep. So we're going to focus on better sleep habits, which applies to whether you're choosing to not get good sleep or struggling with it. Calming your nervous system, very, very important. If you are jacked up, you're gonna have a hard time sleeping. As a matter of fact, stress is the largest contributor to insomnia. It's stress. We're gonna talk about nutrients, and then we're gonna talk about like the best sleep hack ever, in my opinion, like something you can do, a little practice you can do. So we're gonna do all of that today. So better sleep habits. Number one, make sleep number one. I know it sounds perhaps obvious to say that, but you would be surprised how people will come to me and they'll be like, yeah, I'm having trouble losing weight, and, can you help me with my diet? And then, we talk, and then I go, well, actually, the first thing you need to do is fix your sleep. And they're like, no, well, but I want to lose weight. And I'm like, yeah, but the first thing you need to do is fix sleep. And it's a hard one, right? So it's hard. So people don't always want to do it. It's hard in the sense that it feels a little bit like, does it really work? But it's also hard in the sense that the things that you might have to do to get better sleep are not always easy things to do. But you got to start with number one, and that is making sleep your number one priority. So TV shows, your husband's comfort. I mean, I've heard everything. I don't want to bother him, but he's keeping me up all night snoring. And I'm like, well, kick him out, because that's what I did. Sorry. I don't, I'm
struggle is very real.
What?
That struggle is very real.
It's very real. It's very real. And especially if you don't have an extra room, right? Like, we are lucky enough, my daughter went off to college, and I said to my husband, I was like, I can't, my sleep is too important. Or go to a sleep doctor and get it fixed, So, there are a million and one reasons that we can give ourselves that we are going to compromise our sleep. As long as you're doing that, it's not necessarily going to improve. Number two, improve your sleep environment. This is kind of like an easier one, I think, for a lot of people. Cool. So the cool is one little tiny word there, but there is an enormous amount of research showing that keeping your bedroom between 65 and 68 degrees is one of the best things you can do to improve your sleep. It's awesome, right? They sell cool mattresses and all this stuff. You know, I mean, if you have a couple $1,000 laying around, then why not? But you know, at least try to keep your room cool. Open a window, turn down the heat, do whatever you need to do. Darkness, less well researched, but I think it's a huge factor. Like if you can get room darkening blinds, you can get them at Home Depot, you know, for like not that much money. Obviously quiet. And then you have like just the basic comfort of your bed. Like if you're sleep deprived and you're going on vacation because you can't afford to buy a mattress, don't go on vacation for a year and buy a mattress, please. You could go on vacation next year because, you know, a good mattress is not cheap, but it could make a big difference. You know, get your pillows straight, your blankets, all of that stuff. So a lot of times people will say, well, how much sleep do I need? Now, I mentioned earlier, 7 hours or less is where the research piles up, like hundreds and hundreds of studies around this, right? Like, oh, they look at all different kinds of things, but 7 to 8, because if you get, okay, based on big studies, mostly population, right? So, they look at 100,000 people and they ask them how much they sleep. Those kind of studies, epidemiological research. Between 7 and 9 is the sweet spot of actual sleep time, right? So if for you, you feel great on 7 hours, perfect. You feel great on 8, perfect. If you think you feel great at 6, not perfect. I mean, there are always exceptions. I'm saying this is based on like big studies. So of course you have to take into account your own individual personal life and how you feel and all of that. But generally speaking, between 7 to 9, 7 to 8, some studies say 7 to 8. But if you go over 9 consistently or under 7 consistently, then your risk for disease is going to go way up quickly. And it's almost as bad with the over 9 as it is under 7, which is interesting. But you may not be sleeping just because you go to bed at 11 and get up at 6 doesn't mean you slept 7 hours. You may have slept 5. So if you aren't, I mean, I'm assuming you're on this call or you're listening because you're interested in sleep. I recommend getting some kind of sleep tracking device, especially if you're tired. If you wake up tired, explore that. So what I recommend is 9 hours of what they call sleep opportunity. That means not 11 to 6, but 10 to 7. Maybe you read a book in bed for a little while, right? Then you turn off your light and it may take you a half hour to fall asleep. That's an hour gone right there. What if you wake up 5 times in the middle of the night for 10 minutes, or you wake up once for an hour? Or what if your dog wakes you up a half hour early? Like I think we need to give sleep like it's due. 9 hours of your day is your sleep opportunity time. That's my recommendation. Also, this is so cool. This is such a cool thing you can do. And it's pretty simple, is get your thoughts out of your head. Keep a notebook by the bed or your phone. I mean, we all have our phones. Get those thoughts out. And I'll even take it back. Like if you're a busy person in general, however you want to do it, I have my little notebook here. Before I finish my workday, or at the end of my workday, right? And that's at 5 p.m. I'm going to write out everything I need to do tomorrow. I'm going to look at my list. I'm going to make sure that I don't have all these lingering thoughts of like, oh, right, I got to call the doctor. I got to do this. I got to do that. Like try to get it all out on paper when you end your workday, if you do work. And before you go to bed, like if you lie down and you're like, oh yeah, the doctor, oh, gosh, I forgot to make that appointment. Now you wasted 10 minutes mulling over the doctor. Get up, turn on the light, write it down, and get it out of your head. Thoughts uncontrolled kind of like lingering type of random thoughts floating around in your head can keep you up. They really can. So get them out of your brain and onto paper, onto your phone, onto whatever you can. And then we have calming nighttime routines. So there's more and more research about light and sleep. It's mixed. I'm not going to be that person who sits there and is like, no blue light after 8 p.m. The research is mixed. I'm just going to be honest. It's you know, it's not as definitive as some people make it sound. If you have insomnia, I would, you know, work on maybe getting blue light glasses if you're working late, or, you know, I mean, there's so much you can do in your house. There's different types of light bulbs you can use. You can put on a candle, listen to an audiobook, you know, like try to make it darker. Just think about it. Like as human beings, for most of our history, we lived when it was dark, we went to sleep. So we're kind of doing this artificial thing by like having all these bright lights late at night. It can't be helping, but the research is a little mixed. So create a nighttime routine. Read a book, do calming things. I mean, I know this sounds obvious, but you would be surprised how many people don't. It's just like TV, iPad, phone, sleep, or work, TV, sleep. Like it's all these screens and all this stimulation that we're getting late at night. It's not conducive for sleep. It's just not. If you have trouble sleeping, you gotta think of yourself as a baby who has trouble sleeping. Like, what would you do if you had a baby? You wouldn't like plop it down in front of a TV in some crazy TV show. You would like give it a bath and give it a massage and do some aromatherapy, right? Like you would do all of that. Think of yourself as the same way. Your brain needs like that transitioning. Light stretching is amazing. I'm not talking like a crazy yoga class, just 5 minutes of just like a couple head rolls, a couple shoulder rolls, flapping your arms. Just do a little stretching and you will notice a difference in your nervous system. It feels a little relaxing. So a couple things like that. Maybe you take a hot shower, hot bath. You could do breath work. Breath work is amazing because it does. Meditation is awesome, but you need your brain for that, right? But breath work is mechanically calms your nervous system, especially if you can make a snoring sound. So if you can do like, you ever hear that breath work where you kind of go, it sounds like you're snoring. In other words, snore before you go to bed. But what you're doing when you're doing breath work is you're stimulating that vagus nerve, which is that nerve that it actually runs right down behind our vocal cords. So singing, gargling, and snoring, or making that sound, all actually mechanically are going to stimulate that nerve. And that when you stimulate that nerve, it calms your nervous system down. So breath work is not just hocus pocus. And it also does have a calming effect psychologically as well. So you can just take 10 deep, noisy breaths. In terms of light and sleep, there is quite a bit of research showing that if you get light, natural light on your eyeballs and your skin as well, not just your eyeballs, early in the day, that can improve your sleep at night, which is awesome. So there's this magical thing called the morning walk. It's magical. It's probably one of the best health benefits that you can do because you're getting physical activity. Very important. There is a bit of research around movement and sleep as well. There's a ton of stuff here. I tried to include as much as I could, but not everything. But just movement itself can aid in sleep as well. But that's why the morning walk, you're getting your movement, you're getting your natural light on your eyes and your body. Sleep, help with because what's happening is your brain is controlling everything. And if your brain knows morning time, bright, nighttime, dark, calm, relaxing, that is sleep inducing. So I've had so many people tell me just from the morning walk, their sleep got better. And of course it feels great. You're walking, you're moving. And if you can do it in nature, that's going to lower your cortisol and be calming as well. And then the final one, and these are just like sleep habits, is consistent timing. And actually, I put this one last, but I should have been better putting it first because it is the most well-documented way to improve your sleep is to go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time every day, 9 p.m., 9:30. You got about a 20-30 minute window, but lights off at 9:30, lights off at 10, every day, especially if you have sleep problems. If you're someone who your sleep is okay, you might be able to afford, like the Saturday night wild party, go to bed at 11 or something. That's what I do sometimes. And then waking up at the same time as well. You're training your body. Remember, it's your brain. Your brain is really like the major controlling factor in your sleep. So if your brain knows that every night you sleep at 9, you're going to get sleepy. And if anybody who has kids, that's what you do, right? You get them in bed at the same time every night so that they're sleepy. Anybody who has dogs, my dog at 9:30 p.m. every night, he goes up the stairs and he gets in bed. We're not that far off from that, okay? So we as human beings do thrive on consistency and rhythm. So just do it and watch the magic. Do it for 2 weeks and watch the magic. And eventually you want to get to the point where you don't use an alarm clock and you have consistent sleep. You go to bed at 9:30, you wake up at 7, it just happens. It just happens. And that's a wonderful place to be. Okay, so I want to pause for a minute and see if there are any questions or comments about all of that, because I feel like I've just been talking.
I do have a comment, actually. My sister-in-law and brother-in-law had to go to can't speak English, sleep specialist for their daughter who's 1, because she had such trouble sleeping.
Yeah.
And the regimented nature of her sleep patterns was the most important thing. They do not break the nap cycle for anything, the timing. Every time they go to bed, she goes to bed at night, and in the daytime, it's the same every day, and they will not break that because it's so important. Oops.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, there's so much research on this. It's very well documented. Okay, any other questions or comments?
I have one. I was told that as far as sleep is concerned, it's very important to have what they called solid sleep. And many of us are trying to get 100 ounces of water into us. And while we may be sleeping solidly, we still have to get up in the middle of the night to use the restroom. What can we do to stop that from happening? When should we end our water intake, perhaps? And is this issue of solid sleep the important factor here?
Well, the water thing is, thank you for bringing that up. I think that was Mary.
Yes.
Okay, so I can't see everybody. So that's so important. Definitely, if you're getting up in the night to pee a lot, you got to taper off your consumption earlier. It's very individual. 100 ounces of water sounds like a lot.
Well, I'm doing 64 now. I've taken it back to 64
Yeah.
just to get my 8 ounce glasses. However, I know that, based on weight, you kind of have to adjust that accordingly.
Well, so yes and no. Yes, your weight matters, but at a certain point, if your weight is higher because you have a lot of extra body fat, then I tend to say to people, well, what's your target weight or around your target weight? If your target weight is 170, you could base it off of that, or you could base it off of 180 or 190. And if you weigh 200, if someone weighs 250 pounds, that doesn't mean that they have to drink, because for those of you who are here, there is a general recommendation out there that you take your weight and you divide it in half, and that's the number of ounces that you drink. So someone who weighs 250 pounds therefore needs to drink 125 ounces of water a day. Well, yeah, if you're an NFL football player and you're running back and you weigh 250 pounds, you probably do need to drink that much water. But the water is mostly needed for your systems and functioning. So, and body fat just doesn't require a lot of water. So it's the same thing for protein too. If people say, well, if you weigh 250 pounds, you got to eat X amount of protein. Well, no, we always factor down to what's your target weight, unless again, you are like a muscle bound, person, then it's different. So I like for you, Mary, yeah, like that range of water. And the thing about water is that, so this is my water, and
So you're
it's-
saying 64 ounces, I'm sorry, is better than 100.
I think so, but I don't know your weight off the top of my head, but like
Yeah.
I would say. So thing about water too is drink to thirst. Now, some people are not thirsty, so they're like, well, I don't know how much to drink, then sort of ballpark it. Listen, if you're drinking 64 ounces a day, whether you weigh 150 or 200 pounds, you're probably getting enough or close to enough, honestly. But the important thing is that this glass or bottle or whatever it is that you have is by your side as much all day long. Because if you don't drink and then you're like, oh no, I didn't drink my water, I have to drink 24 ounces and it's 7 p.m. Not ideal, right? So throughout, you want to spread out your water consumption throughout the day. So just a
Right.
sip.
So
That's it.
when would you suggest, is there a certain time period, but should we stop, say, at dinner time?
I would definitely
We do
slow it
with
down.
everything else. If we're finishing our meal at dinner time, and we're done eating for the evening, should we also then stop the water so that we have a few hours to metabolize that and then not be awake in the, do you have a certain number?
Right.
An
Well,
hour time period?
I wouldn't say don't drink any water, but definitely slow it down. So again, like a few sips after, like for me, if I finished dinner at 7 and I didn't drink any water, I would be like thirsty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me
But I'm
too.
definitely
I'm
just
the same,
sipping.
yeah.
So try to get most, like if you're going for 8 glasses, maybe you try to get 7 glasses before 7 or 8 p.m. and then it's just, another 8 ounces before bed. But you really have to, the proof is in the pudding, right? But also don't make yourself really uncomfortable, like you're so thirsty at the end of the night. Try to spread out your water throughout the day and then see what happens. See what happens if you stop drinking most of your water by 8 p.m. and then you drink a half a glass between 8 and 9:30 or something. That you just have to experiment. In terms of that so-called solid sleep, the most important thing about sleep is the number of hours, but I mean, the 2 most important things, number of hours, but also the quality of sleep, which means your sleep cycles. So you want to get enough REM, enough deep, enough non-REM. And if you wake up at odd times, like if you're waking up in the middle of a cycle, that can feel disruptive and tiring the next day. But if you kind of, if you wake up at 2 a.m. and you go to the bathroom and you come back and you fall right back asleep, you're probably not going to feel tired, or it's not going to adversely affect you. We're kind of, we're not like dogs, but like, it's okay if we wake up. We just don't want to wake up in the middle of a dream or a sleep cycle. And generally the body does that naturally. It kind of keeps you in that sleep state. And then when you phase between one cycle to another, then your brain kind of gives you that opportunity to wake up. But if your dog is waking you up 10 times a night, sorry, dog, something has to change. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not worth it. I wouldn't be worth it for me. I see Melody, you have a question. Hi.
Good, I unmuted myself. I had a question. I'm still trying to eat correctly. I have talked to you a little bit about sensible eating, structured, staying away from high sugar stuff, because that is my issue in eating. But I'm still not quite there yet. I'm still trying to work at it, but I still make mistakes with that. And it seems like if I eat a lot of junk food in the day, then I have trouble sleeping at night.
Yeah.
And I haven't measured myself when I am eating correctly. I haven't measured my sleep at that time, but I think food might have problems with it, or high sugar foods, or the type of food you eat.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're going to talk about that, like the third part, or yeah, the third part is kind of like nutrients for sleep. But I mean, there's a lot of a lot of variability depending on the person. But a lot of people have expressed sugar being a problem, especially for night sweats.
Yes.
Alcohol too. And one thing that's actually very well researched as well is how much you eat. So the general recommendation is don't eat a heavy meal 3 hours before your bedtime. So if you go to bed at 10, your last heavy meal has to be at 7 p.m. or earlier. If you need a little snack in between, that's fine. Like light eating is okay, but you don't want to, and same goes for heavy exercise, 3 hours. That's like the window. And we'll talk about caffeine too, but certainly, you know, there's digestive issues people can have, heartburn, or just, you know, I mean, unfortunately, junky food makes us not function well. So it can definitely affect our sleep for sure. And we'll go into that a little bit more in a few minutes.
Okay.
Good question. Thank you for bringing these things up. So it's like, there's a lot. So we're going to talk about the nervous system, and I'll try to go through it as quickly as possible, but it's really important. Like I've mentioned already, like your brain is, there are hormones involved, there are neurotransmitters involved. Like your brain is really command control center for sleep, but your brain is like your nervous system, right? So you want to calm your nervous system down to get better sleep. This is probably the most challenging but important thing, honestly. You could have the best mattress and a dark room and do your little routine and, you know, all of that stuff, right? Take your morning walk. But if you're stressed out, it's not going to make up for it. You know what I mean? It's not going to compensate for it. So how do you, and of course, this can take up another hour or two. How do you calm your nervous system? Well, first of all, think about what stressors can you remove, and getting your thoughts out of your head is a big way to kind of remove that like immediate feeling of stress. Like I have 15 things to do and I get that and that, and write it down, write it down, write it down. You're just getting it out of your head, and that will calm your nervous system. But in general, like, are you taking on too many obligations? That's a big one. And we're all ladies here, and women are known for this, you know. What's that expression, you know, basically, if you don't do it yourself, it's not going to get done properly. Like we tend to have that kind of attitude, or we want to help everybody and we're compromising our health to help others. No, stop. Don't compromise your health to help others unless, you know, you have a newborn. Like, of course, there are certain circumstances, you're caring for an elderly parent or whatever. It can be hard, but don't do that. Don't make that like a practice for your life. It's not good. You're not helping others by compromising your own health. So think about what you can remove from your life to calm yourself down. I'll tell you right now, and I've already shared with a couple of people before we started recording, like my father's sick right now. And when you see someone who's sick, whether it's a parent or a child or anybody, you realize health is the most important thing in your life. It is the most important thing in your life. And, you know, there's I have to just go off for a sec to let somebody in. There's an expression that was something like, when you're healthy, there are like 50 things that are really, really important to you, right? Like you have so many goals and aspirations and all of that, right? But when you're sick, there's only one thing that's important to you. So just to keep a reminder of that, like our health, we have to protect it. We have to put it up at the top of the list. So I love also another thing for stress management, a daily quiet practice. Meditation, yes, we can talk about meditation, but the way, to me, like the coolest thing you could do is to say to yourself, I'm going to spend 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes in the evening, you know, when you wake up right before bed, to practice appreciation. I'm just going to sit there, I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to appreciate whatever I can find to appreciate. And in particular about yourself, like it's your 5-minute bragging session. I'm awesome. I appreciate the fact that I'm awesome. I don't know. I'm just making that up right now. Like whatever it is. I appreciate my dog, my bed, my pillows. I appreciate that I have this beautiful lotion that I just put on my hands. Oh gosh, I appreciate that. I appreciate the grass in my yard. I appreciate the fact that I'm passionate about life. I appreciate the fact that I'm taking the time right now to appreciate myself. I don't care what it is. Appreciate, 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 appreciate. If it helps, you can write it down. Whatever works for you. Maybe you want to write it down. Maybe you just want to close your eyes, do a body appreciation. Thank you, feet, for all you do. Without you, I would not be walking. Thank you, muscles in in my legs. Like without you, I could not get up out of bed. Thank you, eyeballs, for allowing me to see this beautiful world. You know, stuff like that. It's a wonderful practice, and it's nice. It'll calm you down. Be kind to yourself, and then again, the breath, super important. Like if you, let's say you're that type of person who you're like, yeah, it takes me like 45 minutes to fall asleep. I don't have insomnia, but it takes me a while. Take your daily morning walk, do your appreciation in the evening, a half hour before bedtime, light a candle, burn some incense, you know, make it nice smells, take a hot shower, read a book, you know, with like as little light as possible, do a little stretching, take 5 minutes to appreciate yourself, write down whatever's still lingering in your mind, and go to bed. It will help, I promise you. Or do a breath work in there somewhere. You know, you got to do what works for you, what feels good to you, and do the thing that you can look forward to. Because if you're in that state where you're like, oh my gosh, it's 9:30, and like I have 45 minutes of all these chores that Jill gave me so that I can go to bed. If you feel that way, you're probably not going to do it, and it's not going to be sustainable. So pick one thing, and I have a slide at the end that's like, pick one thing and start to build up that habit. So if it's just 5 minutes of appreciation, just start with that. If it's 5 minutes of breath work, start with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't try to do all of these things. I want you to pick one that feels like, oh yeah, that sounds appealing. And that way, when it's 9:30 and you're like, I have to turn the TV off. I'm just speaking from experience. This is me. Like, I have to turn the TV off now. If I am thinking that I have to go upstairs and do 85 things that I don't look forward to, what am I going to do? What's my brain going to want me to do? Keep watching TV, right? But if there's one thing that I'm like, I enjoy that, it'll be easier for me to turn off the TV. Psych yourself out. Meditation, 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 meditation. Get an app, Calm, 10% Happier, Insight Timer. Get an app, turn on that thing, put it on a 10-minute one, and let yourself fall asleep to it. Even if you're not sitting up in a chair like a guru, just put it on and let yourself fall asleep to that. That can be really, really helpful. We could talk about more about meditation, but I kind of want to move on just because I'm looking at the timer and I know people are going to have questions. So I want to talk about some, nutrients too. So food. Thank you, Melody, for bringing it up. Sugar, alcohol, caffeine. Those are probably like the big three. Overeating is a big one. So again, 3 hour time span where you allow your food to digest. It's going to help with your sleep. There's a lot about food. I actually did a blog post about it. Magnesium is a nutrient that is calming. It relaxes your muscles. So like a magnesium rich dinner. I don't really go crazy with food before bed because I think it's just, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's that effective. But if almonds help you fall asleep better, great. Eat 10 almonds at 9 p.m. But there are certain foods that can do that, but I think it's more about what you don't eat. And then we're going to talk about tea in a minute. A good like a multivitamin, multimineral. If you're low in magnesium, if you're low in B vitamins, those are like the biggies, I would say. It's going to compromise your brain function and it's going to compromise your sleep. These teas, valerian root, chamomile, and passion flower are very well documented to help with sleep. Valerian root is something that's a little tricky. You don't want to just do valerian root every day for the rest of your life. It can be a little bit stressful on the liver. So if you find that there's a tea called Nighty Night by, I can find it later. I think it's Traditional Medicinals. If anybody knows that, you could put it in the chat, but that's like a really potent tea that if you drink it before bed, you're going to feel sleepy, but you just have to be careful. You don't want to just, unfortunately, a lot of the sleep aids out there are things that you can't just do forever. So think of sleep aids as like a crutch to develop that habit so that your brain gets used to going to bed at a certain time. That's really what they're designed for, like melatonin or things like, actual sleep medications are really designed to get your body in sync with that routine. So the tea, chamomile is fine, but valerian root I wouldn't use forever and ever. Magnesium, again, I mentioned, calming, sleep inducing. L-theanine and CBD. So these are a little bit more advanced. L-theanine comes from green tea. It is an amino acid. It's calming. It basically helps your body produce something called GABA. GABA is our neuroinhibitory neurotransmitter. GABA makes you fall asleep. It makes you stay asleep. It makes you feel calm. It's the best neurotransmitter. I'm just kidding. There is no best neurotransmitter, but L-theanine is a very safe, natural supplement that you can get, and you can take, 600-800 milligrams before bed, and it will make you sleepy. It may not help you fall asleep, but it will most likely help you stay asleep. CBD, same thing. It may not help you fall asleep, but it will most likely help you stay asleep. So if you're someone who's waking up in the middle of the night, those two guys are amazing. CBD, you got to be careful. If you're interested, ask me. I have a brand that I recommend. There's a lot of crappy, expensive, overpriced junk out there. When I went to my father's house, because he's had insomnia for a long time, there were like 8 bottles of CBD lying around the house, and they were all junk. I gave him mine, and he was like, wow, I feel it now. So CBD can be good, but you got to get the right dose, the right quality. It's got to be full spectrum. So be careful, okay? Because there's a lot of scammy stuff out there around that. Be careful with caffeine. Generally speaking, if you are someone who has insomnia, my recommendation would be stop all caffeine right away. Do not consume caffeine ever. Now, I know that's easier said than done. So 2 p.m. is like usually the cutoff. I think it's 8 hours of 6 to 8 hours of like that half-life for caffeine. So I would usually 2 p.m. is like a safe time to stop caffeine if you absolutely need it. Because it's a little bit of a catch-22, because if you have insomnia, you're tired, so you want coffee, right? So it's like a vicious cycle. Please consult with your healthcare provider before taking any supplements. Don't just listen to me and then go take supplements. And then I'm going to share with you the best sleep hack ever, and then we'll go into Q&A. Okay, simple. This is what you do. It's a meditative practice. In your mind, you're going to imagine a circle. Draw a circle in your mind, and take time to draw that circle in your mind. And then you're going to write inside that circle the number 100. So it's going to be, you're going to write out the 1, the 0, and the 0. And then you're going to erase. Erase the 1, erase the 0, erase the other 0. Take your time, no rush. And then you're going to slide that circle to the left, and you're going to spell the word deeper in your mind. So it's like you're projecting a movie, right? So spell out the D, spell out the E, spell out the other E, spell out the whole word, and then say deeper. And then slide that back. You're back to your circle, and you're going to put the number 99 in the circle. And then you're going to erase it. And then you're going to slide it over and spell deeper. Then you're going to go back to the circle. And you're going to write out 98. So you're basically counting sheep. No, but the reason that this is so powerful is that you are engaging your mental faculties. You're really focusing on this process, and that is sleep inducing. Number one, you're not thinking about all the stuff you have to do tomorrow, right? You're not worrying about money. You're not worrying about blah, 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 blah. Number two, you're actually you're more and more pushing your brain into what's called the alpha state. So alpha is like sleep, light sleep to pre-sleep to light sleep. And that's where you want to be, right? You want to be in the alpha state, and then you just fall asleep, and then you go into theta and then delta. So it's brain waves. So what this does is going to slow down your brain waves to the alpha state. So this is not woo-woo craziness. This is a very specific activity that you can engage in. The farthest I've ever gotten with this is 80. Like, yeah, it was kind of not fun, like I went down to 80 and I was like, when am I going to fall asleep? But usually by 95, I'm asleep. I almost never get past 95. It's just magical. You wake up in the middle of the night, draw your circle, put your 100 in there. If you're having trouble falling back to sleep, slide it over, spell deeper. Morning, you get up too early, do that. You want to take a nap, do that. You're on the plane and you can't sleep, do it. It works. That's in my opinion, the best sleep hack ever. Okay, so think about what you'll commit to today. Again, just one thing, just one thing, just one thing. Pick from the smorgasbord of stuff that I talked about. And then I will, again, just remind you of our program. So it's called Lose Weight for the Last Time. And our goal is for you to stop losing weight in the 1980s style, which doesn't work. Dieting does not work. Dieting does not work. You got to do something different. Energy, vitality, confidence, ease, those are the goals. And those are all symptoms or signs that you are getting healthier. And then weight comes off as a natural byproduct of more energy, more vitality, and all of these things. Okay. So I'll just say that. And also I will say that if you sign up for our program during the month of March, you get an additional 1 month gratis. So getting into our program is an application process. You get on a call with me. It doesn't just happen, but this, I'm just saying, if you wanted to do that, you could email me, and then I'm just doing a special in March. March is like a time when people seem to really wake up and go, oh no, I didn't do my New Year's resolutions. So I'm going to go out of screen share. We have 9 minutes. So questions, comments, Katerina. Oh, Amy, I'm sorry. I don't know who was first, but someone go. Go ahead, Katerina.
That's fine. So I was very pleased to see that I do most of these things already, and my problem may be a lot different than others. I have zero problem falling asleep. I fall asleep pretty quickly, not instantaneously, but I probably fall asleep pretty quickly. I have a cold room. I have a ritual, about reading and calming down. And I, since the pandemic, I've also, even though I work really hard, I've taken away all alarms. So I will sleep in the morning until I sleep. And that when I get up, that's when I get, sometimes that's 5:30 in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes it's 8. It is whatever it is. So I've done a lot of those things. My problem is staying asleep. And I do not wake up with anxiety. I do not wake up with nerves. I do not wake up with anxiety. I just wake up. And what the feeling is if it's past a certain moment, I wake up and I feel like my brain feels like it must be morning, and I feel wide awake and I feel ready to go. And I feel, but it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And I feel awake, wide awake. And it's not stressful. It's like I'm totally calm, except I'm thinking, I'm sleep deprived. I'm not going to be able to work tomorrow. But I even let that go. I don't even worry about it. But that's the problem. My brain just feels awake.
Yeah.
And it can take a long time for my brain to get tired again to go back to sleep.
Yeah. So the thing is this, part of it is training. I'm wondering if this is training, like I've mentioned it a couple times, but I will emphasize it even more strongly now. Like our body gets onto that rhythm. Like I talked about my dog going up the stairs at 9:30, like he just knows it's 9:30, right? So it could partially be that your brain is just used to waking up at 3 a.m. What's coming to mind for me, and I don't work with you on a one-on-one basis, so I can't really, but is CBD or progesterone. I'm not sure how old you are or what stage you are with hormones.
I
and
have
stuff.
progesterone cream on board anyway.
You
that I
do?
take twice a day. Yeah.
Okay.
Cheryl. Yeah, I have it twice a day.
Okay. Yeah. So the progesterone is just for everybody. Progesterone is like a sleepy hormone in a way. It does a lot more than that, but that's one of the things that's really important. That a lot of times, especially through perimenopause, we have sleep disruption due to low progesterone. So that's a good one. I would definitely try the CBD.
And it
you
needs
know,
to be the full spectrum one.
Yes. And I can give the brand that I use.
Yeah.
Like I'll just tell you, like I didn't sleep well after I had my after I had my first and second child. Like I just didn't sleep well for, 16 years, 15 years, whatever it was, just from being a mom. I would wake up like 8 times in the night. Sometimes I would wake up like that, like I would wake up and wouldn't be able to fall back asleep. I started taking CBD oil and my entire life changed. Like it worked like a dream. But what I realized is that I trained my body. So after a while, I didn't even need the CBD anymore or oil anymore. My body was just used to sleeping through
And
the
you're
night.
using the CBD before you go to sleep or when you wake up?
No, before you go to sleep.
Okay.
It will,
because even things like, in the old days, like sleep medication wouldn't work because even the long acting one, I wake up after it's out of my system.
yeah, I mean, if you
So-
wake up at 3 and you want to
Right, 3
sleep
or 4,
another
yeah.
3 or 4 hours, you might want to take a little bit more. I would take it before you go to bed though.
Sure, no, that makes sense. What is the brand you use?
Oh gosh, they're all out of stock. Oh my gosh, what's going on? I
Everybody's
just gave my last bottle to my father too. So
Everybody's sleep
What
deprived.
is CBD?
it's cannabinoids basically. I forget the exact cannabinoid. I think CBD stands for cannabinoid. So it's hemp-based cannabinoid. It's basically phyto, a phytonutrient. It's a plant nutrient. So there is a little bit of THC in there, a little tiny bit. So if anybody who's listening, I don't think anybody on this call is tested for drugs, but if you are tested for drugs, THC can show up if you take CBD, just so you know that. But it's very, very small amount, and you won't necessarily, I mean, you're asleep, so you don't feel high. But Katharina, I would try to take it before bed. And then if you do wake up at 3 a.m., which you might not, but if you do, take a little bit. Don't take as much as you took before you go to bed, because the thing about CBD is if you take too much, you're going to feel groggy in the morning. And you may also have like a lot of really busy dreams. So there's really just like a sweet spot. My dose is 1250 milligrams. I take, right now I take like a little quarter dropper, but in the beginning I was taking a full dropper and I was like in heaven. I was like, I can't believe it. But the other thing, and I know you've probably explored all kinds of things, but I'm just wondering if it's also a matter of telling your brain that you're going to bed. Like, because you said I wake up and my brain is like, it's time to wake up. So I'm wondering if there's some of this, as Sherry puts it, progressive relaxation, that kind of thing, or the counting of the numbers, because you basically have, your brain is telling you it's time to wake up, but you have to tell your brain back, no, it is not time to wake up. And what is the way to do that is subliminal. I think it's got to be subliminal, like self-hypnosis. If you could try one of these or both of these things, one at a time, though I wouldn't try them both at the same time because you might not need it to do that. But there's a whole world of self-hypnosis where you are suggesting this stuff to your brain, and you're really training your brain in your mind to change. And I think that might be another angle for you. I do the Silva method, which is amazing, amazing, amazing. They have something, and this is along the lines of what Sherry's talking about. If I have a moment, I'll try to find, there's a YouTube video with the book, the audio book. And in that book, it's written like in the 70s, there's something called the long relax. It's a 25-minute progressive relaxation. I like that terminology, Sherry, where you progressively relax your whole body. And then you go into mental relaxation, which is like visual imagery. So you're imagining yourself in a relaxing place. And then you go, and then you do countdowns. It's a very, very powerful, you're taking it to a whole nother level in terms of trying to get yourself to sleep. It's part of the reason I don't take CBD anymore, really, is that I just do, if I have trouble sleeping, I just turn on my long relax and I'm out. So yeah, thank you for asking that, Katrina. Let me know how it goes.
Yep, thank you.
Amy?
Yes, Jill, thank you so much for having this class. It's been extremely helpful for me, a person who does not sleep well. I was wondering, do you recommend a certain kind of pillow, like whether it be like a brand or like just kind of like a type? And if not, just say no. It's fine. I was just curious.
Yeah, not really. Those pillows that are like memory foam, I think can be, there are pillows out there that supposedly help with sleep, but I haven't really delved into
Okay.
that. But
That's
the memory foam, and then there are other types though that I think are like dense, anything that's like dense supposedly, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I have the same pillow that I've literally used for 20 years. Yes, the same pillow. It's like this thin. My husband calls it a piece of paper. It's my piece of paper. I think find a pillow that is comfortable for you.
Mhm.
You know, that's the most important thing, I would say. I don't think there's a magical pillow out there that's going to solve sleep problems. I think the meditation, breath work, counting down, self-hypnosis, the consistent bedtime, like I think all of that is way more
Important.
important.
Okay.
And honestly, I know it's 2:00. If anybody has to drop off, please feel free to. But the hormones are a big deal too.
Mhm.
So you look younger. You have to go, Katerina.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yes. The hormones are a big deal. I'm not sure how old you are, Amy, but I think you're
49.
49. Yeah. So you might
And I
be.
menopaused very early. So
Oh, yeah. I would, if you haven't tried progesterone, that might be a good one to try as well. But that's again with like a doctor who uses bioidentical hormones,
okay.
not the synthetic stuff. And it could be like a cream or there's something called Chase Tree. Well, you're already postmenopausal, so I won't say that. But for anybody who's menopausal, Chase Tree has been shown in a lot of research to help with to help your body make progesterone.
Thank you, Jill.
Yes, you're welcome. Oh, Mary, there's a little thing here. I personally use pillows that are high enough such that my shoulder doesn't scrunch when I sleep on my side. Yeah, 1 or 2 of any pillow works. I have 2 expensive ones right now, and they are no more helpful than cheaper ones. So that's good to know. Yeah, no, I mean, having your sleep environment good is so important.
Mhm.
So important. Believe me, I was just at my dad's house for 5 nights and I did not get good sleep because I was like, the bed wasn't comfortable. There were lights coming into the thing,
Mhm.
So,
Jill,
yeah. Yes.
what about chocolate? And what about aging and the quality of sleep? And I'm not talking menopause, I'm talking beyond.
I know more about chocolate has caffeine. So if you're sensitive to
No, no.
caffeine.
I had read years ago that, it helps with serotonin.
Yes, it does. Yes, that's true. But it also has caffeine. So the thing is, there are foods that have like melatonin or serotonin in them, but if you don't have low serotonin or low melatonin, it's not going to help you. And this is part of the reason that I didn't even include melatonin in this thing. It works for some people, but honestly, you're not supposed to take melatonin for more than I think it's 3 to 6 weeks. if you are low in serotonin or melatonin, so your body, it goes from tryptophan to serotonin to melatonin. Tryptophan is an amino acid. That's why like turkey and stuff makes people sleepy, because it's got tryptophan, which then your body takes and it makes serotonin, and then it makes melatonin. But if you're not low in any of those things, you're not going to feel any different. So same thing goes for like magnesium, or anything that you would take in food to help you induce sleep. So if you're having trouble sleeping, I don't think chocolate, I would not go to chocolate, honestly. I think it would be not very powerful, and probably could potentially keep you up. I know I can't eat dark chocolate for like 3 or 4 hours before bed, or it does keep me up. But I'm very sensitive to caffeine though. Not everybody is. I know people, my husband can drink a whole cup of espresso and fall asleep. So everybody's different, In terms of aging, honestly, Ellen, I'm not going to say that I'm qualified to really speak definitively on this. I haven't done enough research on it. I think that for me personally, and I'm only 52, so, I'm not like in that stage where like, I still have my period and stuff. So not that everybody on the call me wants to know that, but it's the truth. So, things shift right after menopause, your hormones shift, your thyroid function shifts, things happen as we age. I personally am not willing to just accept aging as a reason for my sleep getting poorer or my hormones not working well. Like, I'm going to take a little estrogen if I need to, like that's my kind of attitude. My father's 80. CBD helps him. Like if you're aging and you're not sleeping well, do something about it, or do as much as you can about it. I wouldn't take it as a reason like, oh, I'm 82, so therefore my sleep is bad. No, I'm 82 and it's harder than it was when I was 62, but there's might be stuff I can do about it. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of my attitude about it, Ellen.
Okay. I mean, all my
I don't know
friends
if that's helpful.
about, sleep being interrupted and not getting the same quality of sleep that we used to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And that's a reality. That's probably a
Right,
reality. But Ellen, and I know you're someone who, I would imagine you're still very physically active. Like,
correct.
look around the people who are saying things and look at their point of like, what are they doing in their lives to be healthy? I'm committed to being physically active, I'm just doing whatever it takes to like stay robust as long as I can. And I know that is a lot easier when you're 52 than when you're 82. I know that, but I'm still not going to take it as a reason to be like, oh, well, I guess I'm just getting old, like, I don't know. There's
Good
always
for you, Jill. I think mindset, you talk about mindset a lot, and that helps so much.
Yeah, it is. It's a big factor. Same thing with menopause. A lot of women are just like, well, I'm 45. I'm just destined to like gain weight and be tired. No, you're not. Like, you do as much as you can, and stuff happens. People get sick. We get old. Life happens, but I guess just try to find resources and stuff as much as you can. Don't settle, work with a doctor who can help you if you're really having troubles. Do a sleep study, work with, because those doctors who are like, they specialize in sleep, they know a lot and they will be very proactive with you. Like, don't go to your primary care doctor and say, I'm not sleeping well, can you help me? Say, I'm not sleeping well, can you refer me to a sleep doctor?
Mm-hmm.
They just don't know what to do, So anyway, I feel like I could just talk about this all day, but I probably should get going.
Thank you so much, Jill. This was great.
Yes, thank you everybody for being here. I'll send out the recording, send it off to your friends and loved ones, because sleep is so important. It really is. And we all need to recognize that. You're welcome, Sherry. Bye, everybody. Thanks so much for coming today.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Bye.